So what I'd like to talk about in this video is your mental comfort zone. We've gone over the physical comfort zone in the last video. We kind of went over, tips and tricks to kind of expanding that comfort zone and the benefits and advantages of doing so. So now we'll dig into the mental comfort zone and kind of see what we can dig out and how we can improve our lives by going in that direction. Now, the first thing is I don't recommend throwing yourself into chaos and dealing with mass stress and trauma and all those things. I don't think we need to break ourselves in that manner, but what happens is life sometimes can throw us those curveballs, and I think what tends to happen is I think we tend to run away from those experiences instead of engaging with them. When I used to have my little Jack Russell Terrier, what I would do with him is if he was scared or afraid in any situation, we would actually engage that situation further. We would move directly into that situation. And what he came to find out was his fears were always ungrounded. What he ended up being afraid of, he actually ended up enjoying. And it was really neat because it was learning for him and it was learning for me as well. So as we dig into building that mental muscle, what we want to do is we want to go into experiences that do make us uncomfortable, and let's get comfortable in those experiences. I think a lot of times we put ourselves in a box when we say, I'm an introvert, or I'm an extrovert, or I'm this, or I'm that. And the thing is, at the end of the day, personality is situationally dependent. They've done research, they've figured this out. Yeah, most people might lean in one direction or another, but if you look at a teacher, a teacher can be very extroverted when she is in front of her class, or but when they're at home, they don't go out in public, they don't go out on the weekends, they stay home by themselves, so they can kind of do both. But I do recommend trying out both because they are actually really both good for you. Getting out in society is what we're built for, so I think it's really important to do that. And the other thing that really is important, it's something that I had talked about in my other videos, was how the ego kind of runs our life through the subconscious, or the other way around. The subconscious runs our life through our ego. Basically what we've done is when we're younger is we set up our initial programming and then we just run with that programming and we keep running with that programming. So part of expanding that mental comfort zone is challenging those things inside of us that are just those programs that are just running automatically that might have outgrown us, or we might have out matured those things. Sometimes you'll see somebody who's very mature in a lot of their lives, but they still make a lot of jokes or act like a bratty teenager a lot. That's one that's definitely difficult for me to deal with very much. It's just like you've got some old programming that you're just not willing to let go of, and it really is because of that comfort zone. And I think that's a bigger part of that mental comfort zone is the dopamine addiction. I go over that in a lot of videos is, the real true addiction is dopamine. We're not really addicted to the substances we're taking in as much as we're addicted to the habit that we have created that gives us that reward. And that comes in so many forms, and a big part of that form is in the mental area, the thinking. Thinking so easily gives us that dopamine rush, and we have so many different ways and types of thinking that keep us even more reinforced in our mental comfort zone. It's really amazing. But if we think about something like if you want to be more outgoing, or if you want to date somebody or be able to have a conversation with somebody that you're interested in, those things can be tough. So I recommend desensitizing yourself, because on a neuroscience level, what that's going to do, again, that's going to create more neural connections. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for neural connections all across the board. I don't want just more mental neural connections or emotional neural connections. I want physical ones too, biological ones too, spiritual neural connections. There's a lot, because what happens as we build these other networks, those networks start to work synergistically with each other. And that's what leads you to a greater fulfillment in many different areas of your life. And that's a big part of why I'm going over this comfort zone series, is because I want to lift people up to where I am, and the amount of adaptability that I have in my brain to handling different circumstances and experiences in different ways. And a lot of that really does come in the mind. And part of that, they say the mental muscle, yeah, and it's like we do want to build that mental muscle. And it's really hard to build that mental muscle if you're constantly consuming social media, watching television, or just consuming in general. I think we were really put on this world to be more producers and creators than consumers. Now, I'm not saying that consuming is wrong, but I think what happens is when we put consuming at the priority beyond everything else, then it loses its value, and it loses its importance, and it loses its worth. It loses its ability to do what it does. So what we want to do is we really want to just relax into life and not do those things all the time. Find other things to do with our life. If you've thought about art or a hobby or writing a book or making a movie or whatever that is, get out and create, make something. It might be uncomfortable to do so, and that's part of the fun in it. And that's, I think, as they touch on things like retirement. You know, I talk about like walking on uneven surfaces because when I get old, I want to be able to still walk around. But the other thing is a lot of people die when they retire is because they have no purpose. They have no mission. They have nothing to keep them going day after day. And I think it's really important to find things that you enjoy doing, even if it's by yourself, because that's going to help build that mental muscle as you get older, because it gives you purpose. It gives you a reason to wake up in the morning, you know. But I'd also do recommend getting good at something, because then you can share it. And that's part of getting out of that mental comfort zone, is actually just really focusing on perfecting something or getting really good at something. We've been taught to follow our passion. You know, it's like, what do you really already enjoy? But the thing is you might be passionate about something that you're not really good at. So it's really important to take an audit and see where your passions are, and see where you've actually gotten good at something to the point where you started to enjoy it. So you might already be where you need to be in that. So what I would do is just take an audit and look at those things. The mental muscle stuff, we can really get deeper into a lot of this. I'm going to do a deeper dive into all these videos. So this, I wanted to just kind of touch upon the basics of the mental comfort zone, and you know, the things that cause us to stay in that comfort zone and keep us in that comfort zone and keep us from ever going outside of that comfort zone. So I hope you found this video helpful, and now you have the physical comfort zone and the mental comfort zone to work on. Now we can start really working on synergistically building you up to be that person that you really meant to be. Thank you for watching.